Hi there, John here, and welcome to the weekly wrap up for this Friday, May 23rd, 2025. Thanks for tuning in as always. Appreciate it. And if you are new to the podcast, please do like, subscribe, and share as it helps the channel grow and others to gain in the knowledge you're currently being afforded. As always, our disclaimer is as follows. I am not a financial advisor, nor does this constitute as financial advice. It's merely quality information for you to use for your own personal discernment. Now to the nation of Iraq. While things may seem quiet on the news cycle in comparison to the historic meetings last week in the Middle East, don't be deceived by that notion. We're going to show you an article in a moment that points to the fact that nearly 90% of Iraq's money supply is being held outside the banking sector as Iraqi citizens continue to hoard both US dollars and dinar, respectively. And here is said article that we're going to show you, and it looks like this. So basically what's going on is in the Kurdistan region, as you know, controls the single largest bloc. Nearly 90% of the money supply is being held outside the formal banking sector. Now, Iraqis have always held US dollars and dinars in their mattresses and in their safes at home. That's not unusual, but what's unusual is that it's ranging at such a high level. What this is doing is causing a currency crisis for a disproportionate move of the GDP within Iraq. So what's going on is it's putting them at risk to make some really difficult decisions they don't want to do, like revaluing the currency, because we're still removing the corruption there, optically speaking. But it really is actually forcing their hand in terms of bankruptcy, and that they cannot do because that would shine a light on said corruption that we just mentioned. So it's a squeeze play to the middle, and it's getting to such a point now that a dire decision is going to need to be made. Now, while President Trump did not make a surprise visit physically to meet Prime Minister Sudani last week, there is a high degree of probability we believe that he did have a video conference call while on Air Force One on his way back to America, whereby he basically indicated that he had every intention of reaching a nuclear peace deal with Iran. As such, part of the stipulation of their agreement is to remove the sanctions off of Iran, just as he did with Syria the week prior, and that Iraq should, quote, make all necessary arrangements and preparations to get ready to return to the international stage with economic trade and commerce. Sounds a lot to me like an RI or an RV. And we are going to show you this article here from Majid that came up late last night, and it looks a little like this. And very simply put, he's indicating that in less than 24 hours, the Iranian-American negotiations we just talked about will decide between peace or war. So again, another squeeze play where a decision is going to have to be made. President Trump has essentially starved off Iran and not allowing the little brother Iraq to buy electricity, as you know we talked about. Now with the sanctions being the noose even tighter, it's going to elicit and force a reaction from both of these countries for Iran to take their hand off of Iraq. And then with the upcoming information we're about to tell you about, exacerbates the point even further. Additionally, Israel is ginning up once again to make formal strikes against Iran. This will be the fourth attack, in essence, against Iran. We believe this is significant as it is the final attack in the nothing, 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 something prophecy per the late, great Kim Clement that he made, that he would said there would be three nothings and a something. We believe we're at that point. So again, we're at a tipping point where something undoubtedly will have to come to pass. Another important financial news stateside, Mississippi, as you know in our Telegram, we showed you earlier this week on Tuesday, has officially abolished income tax. On Monday, Texas Governor Abbott officially signed a bill to abolish property tax as well as capital gains taxes. This is especially huge for our investments concerning foreign currencies as well as cryptos. It's also interesting to note that Texas and Tennessee have made a trade agreement amongst them that has been established since the early 1800s. Both sides are using silver and gold as instruments of trade. This is why when Texas enacts a bill, Tennessee customarily tends to follow suit. Now we're going to show you a video excerpt that shows the latest debt clock analysis in regards to U.S. reversals. And that looks a little bit like this. So you'll notice here on the debt clock, traditionally, folks, you've seen it in reverse, especially in New York, whereby you see the taxpayer having to have a systemic increase in the taxes they, quote, owe every year. But what you're seeing now, as we'll replay it again, is that you're seeing all the interest savings and everything's going in reverse. So instead of what we owe, we're actually getting a savings. This is part of Doge's work to show fraud and waste going in inverse. Also part of Nasara, we might add. So essentially, you're seeing all these things working together, and as the debts are reversed, they will turn into monies that are repatriated and returned to we the people as part of efforts, as I said, Doge and Nasara for many, just one of a couple of several examples. Watcher Guru reported on Thursday that the US government will stop all circulation of the new pennies by early 2026. A full list of Santander, NatWest, and Lloyd's closures in June will occur with 85 branches set to close by the end of June. To current date, over 240 banks have closed this year, with dozens more set to close in July and August. This is according to Express UK News, which we also posted for posterity on our Telegram channel, which you can find a link in the description and in the video below. In terms of other exciting news regarding Zimbabwe, we all witnessed the savage takedown of South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, who is clearly a deep state plant. He was highly embarrassed for the entire world to see with regards to the white genocide of farmers, and this we believe is part of the optical narrative for justification to oust him from power. And who sits directly behind him? That's right, none other than current Zimbabwe President Emmerson Mnangagwa, who has been eerily quiet as of late, except for his emerging health issues. And with that optical narrative of him being gravely ill, much like we hear about with the Biden here in the States, remember that the countries copy each other, and here's another seminal example. Once we see both corrupt leaders in their respective countries summarily being removed from power, look sharply for Nelson Chamisa to retake his rightful place as president of Zimbabwe as the people's overwhelming choice. It's noteworthy to mention, as you saw yesterday in our Telegram, that he is wearing very similar ties and profiles to President Trump. We're seeing a different look from him than we've even seen in the recent past. Now onto the commodities market for gold, silver, and crude oil at the time of this recording. Crude oil is trading at $62.56. Gold is up slightly, $33.0210. Silver is up to $33.24, and the dollar index is below 100 again at 99.89. In terms of the crypto market, XRP, as we watch for the timing and slight upticks of the price of XRP as we await Judge Torres's strategically timed announcement in terms of rubber stamping the closure of the dismissed case between Ripple and the SEC. We also need to be keeping a watchful eye on Bitcoin as it eclipsed yesterday the 111,000 mark. This could be one of the many interconnecting signals of the long anticipated Black Swan event. This happening in conjunction with the threat and perception of wars, particularly in the Middle East, which we mentioned earlier, with respect to Israel attacking the nuclear power plants in Iran, the commodities market, the Dixie or the dollar index dropping, all of this puts together a perfect storm of contributing factors in bringing the tension release point we're all looking to see. We could easily see Bitcoin reaching as high as 125,000, which John Nigo, to his credit of Currency 365, prophesied a long time ago before a swift or sharp correction takes place. Let's not overlook also, folks, the importance of the Genius Act, which overwhelmingly passed in both the House and Senate earlier this week. By a vote of 66 to 22, the bill achieves a number of items, to which include tight regulations on some cryptos, as well as allowing these crypto assets to hit the mainstream, continuing the passage and implementation of all financial banks and institutions worldwide. And this also ensures that these stable coins, most importantly, will now be backed by gold, silver, copper, as well as other commodities apart and away from the Federal Reserve US dollar. The bill also allows consumers to get repaid in the event of a bankruptcy by either a crypto exchange or a crypto coin company. It allows for full transparency as well as a tighter lockdown against money laundering or other nefarious fraudulent activity. For better or for worse, the new digital asset-backed age is here, and it's coming into full focus now for all to see. So that wraps up this week's weekly RV report. As always, if breaking news should come out, and I'm sure it will, we'll get it out to you post-haste. Thanks for watching. We appreciate your support all these years. God bless each and every one of you. And on this somber and memorable Memorial Day holiday, make sure that you take time to celebrate or remember with your family and friends or neighbors, what have you, that have served, are serving, or will serve our finest military in the world for all the sacrifices they've made for us to be here today. God bless. Take care. Goodbye for now.